You found us.
Welcome to Emergency Protocol, a podcast for people who are stressy and depressy.
We are your hosts,
Denise
and Jackie Freed. That's my mama.
And that's my baby.
We are sharing our 12 steps reimagined for today's society.
And our bumpy, pothole-ridden spiritual paths.
And we're bringing you along for the ride.
This is us doing the actual work.
When the shit hits the fan, you know it's time for Emergency Protocol.
All right.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back from your birthday weekend.
Yeah. Welcome back.
It was a whole week ago, so it's like a whole lifetime has happened between now and then. It feels like every week, but yeah, it was our birthdays.
It was.
We share the same birthdays.
Same birthday.
So Jackie was born on my birthday, and now we've forever shared our birthdays. Mm-hmm. And it's nice, actually, to share a birthday. We only didn't share 1 year. I forget.
Nepal.
Yeah, and it was weird.
Yeah. That was the year I got a fresh cucumber for my birthday, and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So we'd been only eating cooked food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I got for my birthday. Doesn't matter. That year.
I returned home in one piece.
Yeah. I was terrified. Putting your oldest daughter on a flight to Kathmandu, which the only reference I ever had to Kathmandu was like packages on, addressed to Kathmandu on Looney Tunes cartoons as a kid. Like it's going away and never coming back. Like we're shipping something off.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was, hard to put you on that plane.
I'm glad you didn't do too much research too, because unfortunately, I think Nepal also has a pretty terrible flight accident record. Like the domestic airlines there have the highest rate of or they did at the time.
Yes. So Jackie comes home from college and she's like, hey, I applied for this leadership grant. Probably not going to get it. I'm going to Spain in the fall for my semester abroad. And 1 week later, guess what? I got the grant. I guess I'm going to Nepal. I'm like, with who?
With me, myself, and I, baby.
With this thing. I'm like, from school? Is it a group? No, it's something I found online. And I'm like, yeah, that was an experience.
That was an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough year. That was like the most time I've ever spent away from home, which is kind of crazy because I look at a lot of my peers or just people in general, and a lot of people move to other cities or states or countries, and not that it's no problem for them, but they seem to make it work. But that year was really, really hard for me because I was gone all the way through May, through the end of May, and then I was home for 2 weeks
to try and get a student visa, and all the shit we needed for you to go to Spain, which didn't come in time, which was also stressful.
And we had to finish it after I got back from Nepal, and I went to Nepal for a month and a half, 2 months. And I was home for another 2 weeks, and then I was in Spain for study abroad through January. I went right from Spain to Connecticut, and I didn't go back home till March. So I was gone from
But look at all the things you can do.
Yeah. Now I'm bye. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always get itchy around this time, around birthday time, right?
Yeah.
It's a reminder of mortality, right? That the clock is ticking, and also summer has a weird melancholy. Last year I had a really good birthday. I was really stressed about turning 30, but I had such a lovely time. It was one of my favorite birthdays ever. I got an Airbnb up in Topanga, and I had friends coming in to stay, and had a little dinner party, and
you made yourself a birthday.
I made myself
for the first time. A real birthday that was planned out and curated.
Yes. For the first time since I was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, usually we do a dinner party. We'll go.
Which we also had, which was delicious. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that, we always celebrate birthdays. I realize that's something my mom's side of the family really does. My dad's side doesn't celebrate birthdays so much. I mean, they acknowledge them, but it's not like
We celebrate
a
grandma's birthday,
cake
but
or
not anybody else, really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's because grandma's like 98.
Yeah, because grandma fucking earned it.
Yes. Yes. But my mom definitely every year makes a dinner for the family and acknowledges everybody's birthday. Although we've kind of lumped everybody in August together because there's
And
4
June.
birthdays.
Yeah.
And then you and I in June. That's
Yeah.
it. So.
And we have one spring
And one in
and
December.
one December.
Yeah.
Yeah. One April
So-
and December.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it makes sense instead of having
like
a
once a
birthday
quarter.
every week. Yeah, we do get quarterly birthday dinners at Grammy's house.
Yeah.
Which is always lovely, and she makes something special, and it's nice.
Yeah. Nice little treat.
So yeah, I think the thing with having a birthday is like, yeah, you do get when you're older. Also, I think the melancholy for me is that we live in Southern California, in specifically by the beach in Santa Monica, and it gets super gloomy in May. May gray, they call it, and June gloom. And so the mornings are almost all the day is this coastal fog.
Till
And
like
so it's
2
not
o'clock
like
if it
rainy.
breaks.
It's not sunny. It's just gray. And
Yeah.
I'm sure in other parts of the world where you're used to being gray, it feels different. But for us, because we're, 70 degrees and sunny all the time,
Yeah.
it's a little depressing to not have the vitamin D shining
Yes.
down on us. And so I think that also plays into it for me, the constant, like, no sun, no blue sky
Yeah.
kind of is depressing to me.
Totally.
But there's also the thing of, I am getting a year older, and am I doing what my intentions were for this year, right? Like, am I disappointing myself? I don't really worry about other people anymore, but am I disappointing myself, or am I like doing what I said I was going to do?
Yeah. Are you honoring your own intentions
Yeah.
for yourself?
The problem with me measuring myself is that I have unrealistic expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, we have like, we're talking with Kim yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, we have this, and this. I think the most important things are these 3 things, but it requires a whole project. Each one requires a project. And so it's like, okay, on Saturdays we can do that. And then in the meantime, it's like, okay, something happens, like,
Yes.
and you get sideswiped by doing other stuff, and that gets put on the back burner. And so it's kind of like, my main thing right now is like, how do we move this thing forward? How do we make it so people can come to a meeting and feel the room of what our intention was for this space, which is you're giving access to people to the 12 steps as we have reimagined them for everyone, so that normal people can experience like kind of the joy of what it's like to go to a meeting. I went to a meeting on Thursday night. It was just so nice. So it was a meeting that is in a park normally, and the park rec center was being redone, like the floors were being redone. So the meeting had to move to another location for however long it had to move there. And Thursday night was the first night it was back in its kind of home space. Going back to this space was, you could see, it's not a meeting I attend regularly, but I have some of my best friends there, and there's a lot of people there that I just know from all this time. And the joy of people seeing one another, it's kind of like reunion-y feeling where it's hugs and joyful, and there was a great speaker, and it was just nice. It's just nice to be in a space where, it's like the land of misfit toys, but everybody gets along in the craziest kind of way,
Interesting.
Yeah. So we're talking with Kim, and we're deciding like how we're going to set up a meeting, and we could do it hybrid so that people could join us.
Yes.
But Also, there's only so much space in our little garage
Uh-huh.
that we could have people in person, and
Yeah.
what would that look like, and how do we set it up,
Yeah.
and so yeah, we're moving forward towards that, which feels really nice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Definitely.
So we haven't set a date for that. I think we need to set a date so there's a deadline for us. Otherwise, it'll just keep going forever.
Okay.
But going back to birthdays, I feel like this year was rougher for you than other years. You want to?
Yeah. Well, I'm still off my medication.
Okay.
So that's one factor, right? And
So what is that? What is that? How does that factor in?
I mean, I think my intention in coming off the meds is to like see what my baseline is, right? And for the last like I'd say month and a half, 2 months, my baseline has been high. This week I feel much better. I feel like I've come down a couple notches. And I think that's also very intimately tied to how much socialization I've done this week. Like I went out on a school night on Wednesday for the soccer game, and I went out to dinner with friends last night. And I was like, "Oh yeah, friends. Like those are those are good to have and nice to interact with, right?" And like, you know, we spend a lot of time together as a family. I realized that I am feeling better now in part because or today, in fact, because I was with friends,
Right.
right? And I used to see people a lot more regularly, like friends, a lot more often than I do now. In part because my work schedule was more flexible. When I worked for myself fully, I had a lot more free time. So I could meet somebody for coffee or for lunch or dinner, or go meet them at the park mid-afternoon on my way to an appointment. Or if I, you know what I mean? Like, just allowed for a lot more flexibility. And working a job that's in person 9 to 5 where I literally have to be there to do the work. It's like a literal physical job. Is a lot more restrictive.
Right.
Right? And also a lot of the people that I became friends with moved away. Right? And
Yeah.
I'm not as good about maintaining those. Like we're still friends. I'm still friends with a lot of people, and I do my best to reach out and check in and all of that. But it's a lot harder for me to do that now when I don't have as much free time. And also when people don't live here, right?
Yeah.
And so now I feel like I'm 31 years old. I'm back to square one. I'm like,
Not exactly square
not
one.
square one, 1.5, maybe.
I mean,
you're
you
square
just met a
two.
bunch of people for dinner last night.
Yeah.
So,
One of whom might be moving.
right. Right.
So I'm just like, yeah, it's hard.
It is. But I think that's partially why this having meetings, like when it kind of rolls out, is going to be super nourishing for you and other people, for me as well. But it's like I already have access to all that.
Yeah.
But for instance, a friend that I've reconnected with who is just started going to meetings met somebody who just moved here from another state, like literally 2 weeks ago, knows no one, moved here for work, kind of settling in. And they're now, because she's kind of new to meetings and this other one's new to the area, they've buddied up and they're going to all these meetings all over town to kind of find their spot, right?
Yeah.
And so the beauty of it is like there could be a day where there's lots of opportunity to connect with people. And the more people you meet, the more opportunities you have to connect with somebody that you actually connect with, right? Like you get to just, oh, that person's cool. Like some ladies reached out to me that I met at a meeting and she's like, hey, I'd love to just like go for a walk with you sometime. You know, we have a lot in common, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sure. And then I was like, well, actually though, like you, I have a full-time job. I can't really just go for a walk in the middle of the day. So, and my weekends are spoken for at this point. So I could meet you at a nighttime meeting and we could do that, but that's pretty much it. Right. And so also knowing that for myself is healthy too, because then I'm not making promises that I can't keep or letting my own boundaries get blurred around how much chi I have, like how much outgoing energy at work, I expend a lot of outgoing energy.
Yeah.
And as a reset for myself, I do need to retreat and be quiet for like extended periods of time so that I can fill back up to do what I need to do. And so I've realized that really only in the last year and a half through therapy. Thank you, Judy. And that, is super helpful because now I'm not committing to go for a walk I can't go on, nor am I offering up a Saturday I don't want to give or cramming one more thing in so that I have like 4 things to do on Saturdays, right? Like I just don't want to live my life scrambled going from thing to thing to thing like that anymore. And so, it's allowed for me to be a little more toned down in my body and feel more centered because I'm realistic about how much I can or can't do at this point.
Yeah.
But the opportunity is there. It's like, I just met this woman. She's 30 plus years of sobriety. I invited her to this retreat we're doing. Like there's lots of opportunities to connect with people. So, but because I have this kind of, there's already a structure in place for me to go and do that any night of the week. Like I could probably hit a meeting right now if I just looked at my phone, and I could probably within 15 minutes be in a room of people who are like me. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that you and I were kind of discussing yesterday was like, what is, when I go to a meeting, it's very clear what the issue is that we're all trying to overcome.
Yeah.
Which is, alcoholism, drug addiction, al-anon, right? Or whatever it is that people are going to, gambling, etc. And so this is a little more gray, what we're doing. It's a little more nuanced in that we're not okay.
Right.
But we don't know.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it, is that it should be for people, anybody who's not feeling okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. The common thread that I've been struggling with is just like how to be an adult, right? Like how to, I've been living alone and I've been out of your house for like 7 years and I'm still figuring it out, right? Like there's just a lot there's a lot of like shoulds, but there's also a lot of necessities. And just figuring out the necessities feels super overwhelming. Like that's a big part of me not being okay. It's like, how does everybody do it all the time? How do you do it all single? How do you do it all partnered? Right? Not every partnership is equal. Yeah. And I'm like, is there anybody out there who's okay? Like if you are okay, please tap in and tell us what you're doing to be okay. Maybe you are on medication. Maybe I'm just on the wrong medication. Like I was on the wrong meds.
You might be. I mean, and that's something that I brought up to you, privately, just like, hey, baseline doesn't seem like the place that most everybody is operating from. So that I think is a big part of level setting.
What do you mean?
Because perhaps, and I don't know, because I've not ever been on medication, so I don't know what it feels like. I'm just making assumptions here, but perhaps if the chemistry is in balance, it's not going to feel as overwhelming to fold your clothes when they come out of the dryer, right? Like it might not be like this thing that's like, oh my God. It felt
like that when I was on the medication though.
Well, then maybe it's not the right medication. Yeah. Maybe, I don't think that some of the smaller adulting tasks are as heavy as they feel.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if that's something that could be balanced out with chemistry, right? There's a chemical something
Right.
that is not balanced that
Right.
causes you to feel overwhelmed with some kind of just menial tasks.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
I think it's making a living wage.
Right.
I think that and universal health care, which are tied together, right?
Yeah.
But I'd say like money is the primary stressor in my life. Trying to figure out which is what are the highest priorities for how to allocate the funds that I have
Right.
at any given time. And that was also true when I was making a lot more money just doing real estate.
Well, you were just shopping more. A lot more.
I was.
So a lot
Yeah.
of retail therapy happened there.
Yes. Right. It's so funny. If you have a shopping issue, if you feel like finances are a struggle, turns out making an hourly wage will curtail that real quick. Which, to my credit, I have cut way back on shopping. So maybe I didn't have the big shopping problem that I thought.
Right.
Right? Because if I did, I would still be spending that way and not prioritizing the stuff that I should be prioritizing.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think it's worth exploring only because watching other people I know are much more functional when they get their chemistry right. Mm-hmm. It's like night and day.
Right.
And so I don't think the suffering. I don't think that. I think the daily suffering is probably not an optional thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it might be helped, or at least alleviated enough to not feel like this overwhelming sense of dread or inability to get it all done.
Yeah.
I mean, the fallacy is there. You never get it all done. Like, I don't know. I stress people out. I just show them my inbox and I was like, you get 200, 300 emails a day.
Right.
And I no longer get stressed and I don't get to zero and I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. If it's important, they'll email me again.
Oh, I have tens of thousands
I
of
try
unread emails.
and look through and go through and delete. But I do the best I can. But that's no longer a stressor. It was at one point, right? Where it was like, oh, everything has to have a file and da-da-da. And then, not everything also has the same weight or the same, I don't know. It's kind of like, I was thinking about this morning as I was folding laundry, actually. It's like, for me, the pain of looking at a pile of laundry is so much greater than the pain of folding it and putting it away. And the pain of looking at it is so much longer. It draws it out longer. And I think that just ties into kind of the thing with step 10 for me, which is like, and 6 and 7, right? It's like, trust that we'll be guided to recognize thoughts and behaviors that no longer serve us or the greater good. So for me, my room was always messy growing up, and I didn't like to clean it. And my idea of cleaning it was throwing everything under the bed or in the closet, which I can still do in an emergency protocol situation. But I also realized like I can do a little bit of like I can fold up the clothes and it's going to take me less than 5 minutes to do just this little bit of stuff. And then I can just put it away and I don't have to think it. I don't like it's one more thing I don't have to think about. And so that's kind of like when actually it's going into kind of 10, a daily practice of reflection, amends, and forgiveness, because the daily practice of like, what could I have done today that would be in alignment with my best good and my, how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
It kind of, all these steps kind of blend into, oh, if I do this one little thing, like make my bed, I feel better about my bedroom leaving the house the day. And when I feel better when I come home to a made bed, I don't know why, but it does make me feel better. And so, you know, I had to learn the discipline of that in sobriety. Like my sponsor told me I had to go, literally I had to be told to go home and clean my room. Like Monday nights was clean your bedroom night.
Right. But you were able to do that because someone was telling you to do that. What do you do if there's nobody to tell you to do that?
Well, you want me to tell you?
It doesn't work.
So that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's why sponsorship works, because they're not your mom, right? They're not they're somebody you're asking for help with.
Right.
And then you ask for the help, and then you have to kind of do what they've said, right? Which is like, oh, you're going to go home and you're going to clean your room on Mondays and you're going to do your laundry. And then Tuesdays, you're going to do this. And Wednesdays, you're going to do that. And I don't care how tired you are. That's what the plan is. And I'm like, okay, because my life depended on it. And so that's kind of going back to this thing. It's like the gray is our life dependent on it. You know, in a way it is, right? To live our best and most fulfilled life.
Yeah.
I think it is incumbent upon us to do whatever we need to do to get there. It's hard though. And that's why it's so interesting. To me, it's fascinating. The mind and the resistance and the conundrums and the science of it. Like, I'm not a doctor. I don't understand brain chemistry. I don't understand it probably even in a way that you understand it from your schooling, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's also kind of why I'm off the meds too, right? Is like, I am wondering if there's like anything else at play other than my original diagnoses, right? It feels like everybody's talking about ADHD these days. I think it runs in our family.
Yeah.
And has never been diagnosed, but probably would be now in this day and age.
And so what do you do for that?
Well, there's a big one is medication, right? And I was diagnosed with this when I was in college, and I was on Adderall, and Adderall was not a good fit for me.
It was not a good fit.
But that doesn't mean that another medication wouldn't be a good fit.
Right.
Right? So, but I'm like, I feel like I look around and I'm like, why does this feel so hard for me? Why do all of these things that are just normal everyday things feel like I'm climbing a fucking mountain?
Right.
Every time. Like, that's not normal. Right?
Right.
So, and then there's also the fact that I'm working a very physical and customer service heavy job every day. Like, I'm on from 9 to 5, lifting 50-pound bags of whatever, and also providing customer service, and also being a team member.
And team leader.
And then after washing like 3 sinks full of dishes, I'm coming home and then I have to clean my house. Like, that's a lot. I feel like my general functioning was also better when I had more flexible time and when I could work from home, and, you know, while I was drafting a contract, I could start my load of laundry.
Right.
And then keep working and then go back and finish it. The thing that I am also struggling with too is like not totally making myself into a victim over and over again. Like, I feel it's already really hard to advocate for myself when I'm in a low place, right? And ask for help or get resources or whatever. And I feel like the effort it takes to get help feels like it requires a lot of effort, right? Like, when I finished undergrad, I was fine. And then I had an abortion. I went back to therapy. I had a great therapist, and she got pregnant and then took a break, obviously, to have her kids. And so I was kind of on my own for a little bit, decided that I needed to go back to therapy, reached out to her. Her schedule wasn't compatible with my schedule anymore. She referred me to someone else. I worked with that therapist for another like year and a half, something like that. She got pregnant,
Right.
had her kid, right? And so just getting to a place where I found two people who I felt like I like got along with and wanted to work with. Like finding a therapist is really hard.
It is.
Right? Like I can't emphasize that enough. It's hard enough to admit that you're not okay and then to seek help. And then to find somebody that you gel with is also really hard.
And then to pay for it.
And then to pay for it is really expensive, but worth it.
Yeah.
And then if you have to like redo that whole process, it's a lot and it's really intimidating. It's like, fuck, I just went through this. I don't want to have to find another therapist.
Right.
Right. Even though I have plenty of referrals and whatever. Right. And then negotiating what time works and making time in the schedule for it. And it's just a lot. It's also,
hasn't it been a minute now since your therapist went and had her baby?
It's been a couple months.
So is she not back at work yet?
No. No. She was going to take like the whole summer, I think, which take as much time as you need. I don't know. I don't know what it's like to have a baby.
Right.
And I think that that's like a normal human amount of time, like half a year to be with a new creature that you birthed. So I feel like that's challenging, right? And I reached out to my insurance company about a potential like ADHD evaluation. I did the intake and they're like, okay, well, to do the actual like evaluation would be a separate thing. If you don't hear from somebody in like 2 to 3 weeks, let us know. I haven't heard. It's been like 2 months, but because of how I function, like I haven't reached back. I haven't followed up with them either. Right. And I'm kind of like, hello, like the call's coming from inside the house. Like this is what I'm struggling with. Right. And so it's just like another thing that's on the to-do list. Right. So
I think there's things that,
but I also don't want to be pathetic about it. Right. Like I don't want to, like the victim energy and mentality is like so draining. It's not somebody that I like to be around. It's not who I want to be. Right. At the same time, like coming up against the same obstacles repeatedly is really frustrating and hard and overwhelming.
Right. So you just got to prioritize that as the, main thing that you need to do. Right. Like in terms of priority of,
but I think the hard part is this. Kind of like what you were saying in terms of figuring out like, with this project that we're working on, we have 3 things that we're trying to figure out how they're going to manifest and figuring out like how we move forward on all of those. That's one of the things that I need to prioritize that feels urgent. Right. And also I have this mental health thing.
Well, I think mental health is the most urgent. Your health is the most urgent of any things that we can prioritize. Right. So we can prioritize that. Right. And then the rest of it will be, it'll take what it'll take. I mean, we've been working on this project in one form or another since 2021, 2022?
2022?
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we started saving all of our little documents and things in 2022. Yeah. But I think we were talking in the parks.
2021?
I think 2021, like just having conversations.
We just recorded our last birthday podcast. I remember turning 30 and I was like, this sucks.
Also, we're so professional. We forgot to celebrate our 1-year anniversary in March.
Of this. Yeah. Our podcast anniversary. So, what is time? Who knows?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a lot there, and I think the thing I like to hold on to is that there's always hope that there's a solution, right? Because I've been able to find solution in multiple ways, and also I have lots of friends who found solution in multiple ways, and I've found that there's always somebody out there who has the information we need to get through whatever we're getting through. And so it just takes a bit of, like you said, it's a lot when you're already tired and spent, to find that little bit of grit to go do that extra thing that requires more of us than we're ready to give at any given moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard, especially when you're already down.
Yeah.
You know, there was a woman, and this is part of, I think, the beauty of the identification of like the commonality of meetings is, you know, there was a woman who got up and took a newcomer chip. We give out chips for various lengths of sobriety, 0 to 30, 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, and then a birthday for a year. And as a celebration of like making it through. These are people who have been drinking every day forever. And so to go 30 days is quite the miracle and should be celebrated. So, you know, somebody got up for a newcomer chip, and she said, I have 3 days, and then just burst into tears and then walked away from the mic. And, you know, the thing is like everybody in the room knew what that felt like. Like everybody in the room knew what it remembers having 3 days. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing here? Who are you people? I'm a fucking mess. Like everything's coming up because now I'm just raw, right? And I'm like a nerve, and I'm detoxing. Like there's just so much going on physically in your body. And then you're asking me to stand up at a podium and talk, and like another like fear escalation, like way up here, public speaking on top of like all this other stuff. Right. With 3 days, just we get it, you know. But the beauty of it is that everybody gets it. And so there was a lot of love for that person after the meeting and right after her share, because we identify with it. Like, you're not alone. So, and that's what I'm saying to you is like, you're not alone. The only difference between you and the people in that room was like, we self-medicated. So we didn't seek professional help or professional medication. We're just going to go drink and drug and try and find the right combo of something on the street to make it go away. And there was stuff on the street that made it go away. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it to the extreme that we did, right? So know that I think, you know, you're doing it in the healthy way, but it is a bit harder, and it's a bit costlier, and it's a bit more...
Well, it's like the next level, right? Like this is generational trauma, really, that we're working through. Right. Like you're the first one to stop drinking. So I'm the first one to start dealing really with all the stuff underneath. Right. And I think like the rest of our family is like kind of up leveling on that journey too. But for a long time, anybody in our family who got sober, like that was the miracle, right? That was like the big step, right? Yeah. And that plateau has been maintained long enough that it's like, okay, what else? What was underneath all of the other stuff? Right. Yeah, and everybody's unpacking that now. Kind of, right? Yeah. Which, thank God, we're in the like mental health zeitgeist that we're in now, where people are aware and talking about it. Well, and that's why you and I are talking about it. And there are people who come up to me and are like, I can't believe you guys are so vulnerable talking about this stuff. And I was like, really? We just way we talk. California. It's just the way we talk, right? Right. But it's also the AA-ness and the programness of our life, and the way that I talk with my friends and the way that I talk with pretty much anybody. I mean, I have to button it down at work a little more. Well, yeah, it's because it's space. Work. Yeah. But I don't button it down that much more. Right. Because I need to be vulnerable with my people so that they can be vulnerable with me. Right. And the more I show my flaws and my fears and my commonality of like, this is terrifying. Yeah. Then they can relate, and we can all get through it together in the same way that we're trying to do this. Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Pretty soon we're going to figure out how to have guests. We keep saying that, but actually though, we talked about that and what we need to do, because it's a project. Yes.
That's one thing I learned from this
acquiring skills
book called Getting Things Done by David Allen. If you're going to look it up, he's there's a difference between a to-do and a project. And if it's more than 1 or 2 steps, it's a project. It's not a to-do. And so I put things on to-do lists that can't be done. That's partially also very stressful. Like it was a huge relief to me to go, I can't change the light bulb, right? Without the ladder and the light bulb and going to buy the special light bulb. Like it's a whole like chain of events that has to happen. But I have on my to-do list, change the light bulb, and it never gets done because the to-do list is wrong.
Yeah.
There's lots of funny tools that I've adopted to make the underlying, discomfort of why I used in the first place go away. But it's been a long haul. I mean, this has been 38 years in the making, right? And I'm still not great, right? I'm still not. It's never done. It's like, okay, once I get through this, then I can breathe. No, there's some fucking other thing that comes up.
That's what I'm saying. And you made me have to deal with all that by birthing me. I didn't want any of this shit. I could have just been perioded out and sent on my way back into the universe.
Nope. That is not how it was meant to be, because you are here. And you know what? It could all be working out in your favor. It could be like the best thing that ever happened to you.
As far as I know, it's the only thing that's ever happened to me. So it's like when you get a PR for running your first race, right? Like first and best attempt. Yeah.
All right, folks.
Next time. What are we talking about next time? I feel like we should talk about Pride Month.
Okay.
As somebody who's like probably just outed herself to a bunch of people who don't know that about me. As I'm learning this about myself.
And I'm asked to be on a panel as an ally this month.
She's about to consensually out me to a bunch of people, so might as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about that, and we can talk about, maybe it would be helpful if we narrated out loud the process of seeking help. And what that looks like.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Like as I'm going through this in real time, like what am I doing to do it?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And what have you done to do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
All right. In between now and then, drink some water.
Drink some water. You're a miracle.
You're a miracle. Please
Apparently
leave a comment or follow us.
You do this every time. You're like,
can you follow us? Can you follow us?
Is it like and subscribe?
Alms for the poor, please. Alms for the poor.
Yeah, we are shouting into the void. So if you have
any
thoughts,
comments would be lovely. I would love to hear
feedback.
anything back, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever you find us on. It would be lovely.
Yeah. If you want to join in on the meetings, maybe we'll put just like a simple Google form or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Or we'll throw out a Zoom link and we'll just publish it. And people can just come. That's what they do in 12-step meetings. I can go to a meeting today in Paris if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Online. So,
right.
It is what it is. Meetings coming soon.
Yeah. Keep your eye on the show notes.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and TikTok at 12 Steps for Everyone. That's at the number 12 Steps for Everyone.
Please like and follow us. You can also send us topics you want us to dig into or follow-up questions from each episode.
And if you know someone who would enjoy or benefit from our conversations, please feel free to share this with them. All are welcome here.